Hello everybody and welcome back to the Helix for Fate Reforged spoilers. We're on the day 4, so let's get started. Monastery Siege is the most tempo-oriented siege so far. It can either let you loot every turn, or it can make your opponent pay 2 more for each of the spells that would kill you, or permanents you control. So what this means is that you can really outpace your opponent by just putting out more threats than they can deal with. Crucible the Spirit Dragon I'm far less impressed with, as it is a storage land, but it's just for dragons. This means that can only go towards dragons or their abilities. And unless there's a 4 or 5 killer dragon out there, I don't think there's any room for this guy. However, those commanders that are mono red and just want to bring out those dragons, this guy is your thing. Moving on to what will be Constricted Bomb, Monastery Mentor. Young Pyromancer is pretty good, right? Well, Prowess is a pretty good effect too, on like Monastery Swift Spear. Well, what if you put those two cards together? And you know what if we have the tokens gain it too? Yeah, so you have trigger upon trigger upon trigger, and you know what? All of a sudden you have a field of huge guys, and there's a lot of them, and each only slightly smaller than their predecessor. This guy's gonna hit big, and I think in almost all the formats, and he's my #1 pick for Fate Reforged so far. Moving on to the only slightly less impressive Shuyam, the Silent Tempest. 3 for a 3/2 prowess isn't bad, but whenever you get a non-creature spell, you also get to give target creature double strike for 2. Now while this seems pretty good, the prowess bandwagon is getting pretty full, and he just might have missed it. Torin Elemental is on the other side of the blue spectrum. Torin Elemental is a flying 3/5 that can be played from your exiled for 5 mana. So it also taps down all your opponent's guys when it attacks, but that's not very important unless you have a guy just sitting there chum blocking the whole time, like a Sphinx. Now to me, Torin Elemental is the new win condition against other control decks. So why this is so good is that with cards like Dig Through Time and Murder's Cut, you can exile it to replay it from your exiled zone, and then from there, you can't really be countered either because the effect isn't casting it. So this has a lot going for it, and I'm sure it's going to see a significant amount of play come next standard. Another card I'm pretty excited about is Sorcerer of the Hunt. It's a hasty 4/2 that whenever it deals damage or other creatures you control deal damage to your opponent, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So with just this, any red mage is going to be excited to play this with Hordeling Outburst and Goblin Rattle Masters. But he does more than that. His Ferocious ability allows you to pay 4 mana to draw a card for each creature you control with 4 greater power. So assuming it's your only guy on field and he lives through resolution of his ability, he's drawing your card just by himself. I'm not quite sure where he's at his best in standard, but I assure you, you will need to deal with him. So that's Fate Reforged for the first of the year, and as always, Jesus loves you. Do you ever want more Helix? Well, come check us out on Vine at Lightning Helix 101.